Hello everybody, my name is not Markiplier, and today I'm going to show you the Tyrant Showcase. This is insanely broken. I was doing some testing with this, and I was able to get a post, what was it? A post battle result, and I was able to do 110,000 damage. Let me show you how this works. First, I'm just gonna stack up my soul points here. I don't even know what they're called. They don't have a description when you hover over them. Let me show you what they do though. They stack up every turn, and once you get to 100, you can pop your corruption ability. Let me show you why this is broken. I'm not even setting up. I have no gears that allow me to like do overtime bonus damage like Yarthul's Wrath, nothing coagulated fingernail, crystallized, like nothing. I have nothing that allows me to do that, right? Okay, now before I can soul ignition, which is I need 100 to do so, I'm going to impaling strike, and depending on the damage from this attack, which is 300, watch what happens after I soul ignition and then flowing dance. Look at this nuke damage. All the damage instance transfers over from the last instance of damage. So if you do 300 damage from impaling strike, which I did, and then you pop your soul ignition and flowing dance, all 12 hits from flowing dance will now do 300 set damage. So imagine if you're Berserker and you Head Splitter, which does 500 damage, and then you Carnage right after you pop your Soul Ignition, you will do 20 damage instances of 500 damage. 20 times 500 is 10,000 damage. You are effectively able to kill every single boss even while they're corrupted, with the sole exception of Handaconda, because it has triple the HP, right? But it does set damage. It doesn't do normal damage. Even if you crit, super crit, it'll still do the same amount of damage. So taking that into account, I'm assuming that you would bypass defense, right? Since it doesn't do bonus or less damage depending if you crit or not, right? So keeping that in mind, you could assume that you will do those 10,000 damage even if you're facing against a 90-90 or Handaconda. And this has a lot of passives. Let me see if I can pull it up. Here we go. This has a lot of passives. Stop. Okay, so this is, oh, I was watching Obsession, sorry. This is what the passives are, right? Tyrant, that's just what you get when you pop the ability. Recoil increases the damage you take when you take a damage instance. This can be seen with Immolation. The percent damage is multiplicative with itself, so instead of taking an X% of damage, you would instead take X% of damage multiplied by the amount of recoil you have. Corrupt power, I don't know what that does. I'm assuming it increases your damage, but I don't know how much and I don't know by what. But what I could tell is when, for example, I super crit, right? Super crit impaling strike would do 375. And then when you pop your soul ignition, you would do 375 even if you don't crit, because the damage instance transfers over. So I don't know if this is true or not, but I would say if you did 1,000 damage impaling strike, then you just normal strike. Your normal strike would do 1,000 damage, right? Because you saw the nuke, you saw the 4,500 damage nuke, okay? And when you strike when you're in tyrant form, you inflict this debuff called subject. I don't know what this does, but I'm assuming subjected enemies take more damage, because you can only inflict one instance of subject at all times. So for example, if you have subject on one enemy and then you inflict another instance of subject, the subject on the first enemy will disappear and transfer over to the second enemy. Mandate, this is currently a bugged status effect as far as I know. It says the use of skills will have a +1 cost, yes, but when you do have this on you, the skills you have will remain the same cost. However, I don't know if this is the same for enemies. Maybe it's just a debuff that is targeted towards enemies. So for example, you have Yarthul's Armageddon, which costs 5 energy. If he had this on him, it would cost 6 energy. I don't know if that's how it works, or if it's currently bugged, or if it's just made specifically for enemies and can't actually harm the tyrant itself, which is the user. Regent, the people love a peaceful king. This, you gain this status effect when you use meditate when you're in the tyrant form. Just consider soul ignition as like a second form, right? It's not a move as to gain like a boost in damage. Consider it as like what you do after you use soul ignition is like a completely whole different form. You get a whole new set of passives, blah blah blah. So don't think of it as just a move, think of it as a different form itself, right? So Regent happens as, I will showcase it, but when you meditate, when you're in tyrant form, you gain Regent, which is basically a status effect that has a description called everyone loves a peaceful king. What that does, I'm assuming here, I have no idea if it's correct, I'm assuming that it gives you a passive defense boost, because the VFX for it is actually a shield behind the player, right? And when you meditate, you lose 10 to 20% of your defense depending on your soul tree. But if you soul ignite and then you meditate, you gain Regent. And I can showcase it. The normal strike of the dummy is 4.8. We can test by just double slash failing or pommel strike failing, and then when the dummy attacks, you can see how much damage he takes. 4.8. Okay, so it doesn't, I was wrong, it doesn't give a defense boost. Maybe when you meditate it gives a defense boost. 4.8, 5.9. 4.8, 5.9. 4.8 times 0.1 was 4.8. I actually don't know. I don't understand what that does. So it might just be bugged, or yeah, I have no idea. Rally. Now this is the most important status effect. This, you gain this status effect by taking self damage when you're in tyrant form. This status effect is extremely powerful. You will gain a passive lifesteal that doesn't affect your life. Actually, it affects your overshield. So whatever damage you do, a portion of that damage will be converted into shield HP. And now if you factor that in with the 4500 damage nuke that you can inflict with this, I think it's around 10% of the damage gets converted to shield HP. So 10% of that, which is 450 HP, will be converted into shield HP. So you can basically become a tank, right? Now, why this is so important is it actually doesn't make it that overpowered, since recoil will multiply the damage you take with yourself, right? So having a ton of shield HP isn't that strong, because you would be taking 50 to 100 HP every single turn, because the only like self-damage moves you can really have is self-cure and immolation, and those will multiply, and those damage instances will multiply with recoil. So even if you have, for example, 500 shield HP, in the next 4 turns, that 500 shield HP would most likely be gone because of recoil being such a strong damage giver, damage, whatever you want to call it, right? It's so it kind of balances out with itself, right? But I still think it's pretty strong, because you can tank basically everything in the game. The only thing that you really have to worry about with the Tyrant is just killing yourself, because of the recoil. It's so strong, and you can't really do anything about it unless you are Vidir. See, Vidir's auto dodge is actually able to dodge itself damage. So after, for example, you take an instance of self damage and then you gain rally, you can just sense expansion and dodge 3 instances of damage. So you're basically just having 500 600 shield HP for free. You're not going to take any self damage until sense expansion disappears. So Vidir plus Tyrant is a little broken. I don't know if they're gonna change that. I don't think they will, because Berserker Tyrant is still, I don't know how they're gonna fix that, but it's still very strong. And the gears I'm using: Crystalline Spike, Blooming Eye, Lucky Horns, Shadow Gauntlet. Shadow Gauntlet is the Metrom's Vessel Chain. Lucky Horns is this, the horns on the side of my head. Blooming Eye is this, and Crystalline Spike is this. I have no idea what they do. They don't have a description. Oh wait, they do have a description, but I don't necessarily know like the exact things they do. All I know is it boosts my damage, maybe. I have no idea. But anyways, this is the showcase for Tyrant. It's pretty broken with anything that has a multi-hit, especially Berserker and Blade Dancer and Brawler, but I think Brawler is a lot weaker. What would be really strong is if you actually use Monk, because Monk has one of the strongest single hit attacks in the game. But yeah, this is the showcase. My screen is frozen. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you in the next video if I choose to make a different showcase, because before I end this video, actually, I want to show you something. When you have corrupt power, when you meditate, the soul will actually change. Instead of Raphion's, whatever, Thanasius's will, Metrom's, like whatever, it changes to your soul, and your soul will gain a second option here instead of leveling up, where you can spend Robux to re-roll your variant of corrupted power. And I don't know how different each corrupted power is, but they could be stronger, they could be weaker, I don't know. One thing I do want to say before I leave, I don't know if this is new or not, but this person will allow you to actually fuse three totems into one totem, which is 3 skyward totems into a darkened totem. I don't know what they do. Nobody has ever done this yet. I think this will just be a way to get guaranteed double corruption with a chance of triple corruption if you're running Unbridled Horror. But yeah, I'm waiting. I'm gonna wait until somebody uses that. This feels pretty broken, you know, if that is the case. There is also a new NPC here where you can gift game passes to other players, but if there's no players in the lobby, it'll just say no soul here is in need of that blessing. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Please fix patent. I've done every trial 3 times, nothing works. I just want my Rima back, please. Thank you. Also, here's my stats. Currently I have no masteries. 210 is optimal. Please go that route. That will be the end of this video. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Have a good one.